Ah. Hello. Oh, I'm the only one online. Sad. Maybe God is calling. How are you doing, Piro? You haven't been here in a while, right? You missed like my last few streams, right? You're here today, and then yeah, it's been 4 months, almost 5. How you doing, bud? Why is the armadillo active? I must have clicked on the armadillo instead of the golden dragon before I logged off last night. Insecure with you. You know what? I'm gonna do something. This. Did I spell that right? I always feel like I spell that wrong. Yeah, I spelled that right. Okay. Boom. Don't worry, bro. I got you. Good. I did Space Engineers streams this morning. Space Engineers 2 or just 1? So I heard they came out with a number 2. I don't know if these rumors are true, but that's what I've heard. Are you still playing? You played Skyblocks, right? That's how I found you. 1? Okay. I have some like stuff that I need to do on Space Engineers. I just took a break because me and my buddy got kind of burnt out on it. But we do have some worlds that we did together that we should probably continue up again. There we go. We're doing Sven's today. Come on. I set up for VBS today. I also finished some projects that I had lying around that I needed to finish. And, like, they didn't take me very long. SAO Minecraft server? I remember the SAO Minecraft server. Oh, so you're like an OG. You've been here for a long time. I took, like, a long break from streaming, mostly because I got burnt out and then received some, like, death threats and stuff. That was fun. But, you know. But I'm now back into it. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling it. We're streaming again. And I want you guys to know that I would never leave you guys forever. And I still have the I still remember that I have to do the 11.5 hours more of Dugans. I still have 11.5 hours of Dugans to do. So if Paul becomes the next mayor, we will be doing Dugans for the next few streams. Try and get that going. So, that is a very important Dugan thing to do. I've also started, like, trying to network a bit through Twitter to try and, like, maybe do, like, some SMP or collabs or something in the future. I don't think it's panning out very well. My prospects are minuscule, but I am giving it an attempt. So, I'm trying to get more followers over there and then convert those Twitter followers into Twitch followers and views. But it's not working that great. So, that's a bit of a rip. But we're here. You love me anyways. I'm trying to think. Is there anything I'm forgetting to do? Don't tell me my internet's bugging out. It better not be. I hope that was just bugging for a moment. Die. I want to do this real quick. Ah, that's cringe. I don't have permissions to announce in that Discord. Wait. Did I swap which Discord channel I'm looking at? No. Boop. Bam. Need to be looking at my Discord general when I tab over the Discord. I was like, there's one Discord server that I don't think I promoted myself in that I've been a part of for a little while that I should probably start doing it in. I just got a hound pet. That's awesome. I already have a legendary hound, but you know, that's cool. Just trying to grow the channel a bit. I had what's it called? I had a short pop off today. Like, I think it's sitting around like 1.5k views on this short, maybe more. Let's see. Hey, stop that. It's at 8.3k views. 8.3k views on a short. I spent 30 seconds on it between recording and editing. Actually, editing probably took me more like 5 minutes and uploading combined. But still. Like, it's always the stuff that I put the least amount of effort into. You know, just the junk posts, just something to throw out there. And those always do so much better than the stuff that I actually try on. Because, like, if I try on something, it's like 100 views, 10 views, 20 views. Don't try, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 1.3 million views, and then it got striked by copyright strike. But I still had it. It still existed for a while. Once I'm done getting this to 9 and my overflux, I'm gonna switch over to doing Spoiler. We're gonna do tier 4 Taras for 2 reasons. One, I need to do my Tara Slayer. You know, Tara Slayer needs to happen. Or I need to pre-jack EXP for Tara Slayer. Speaking of which, my modded Skyrim Special Edition got 19 views. That's awesome. Lately my VODs have been getting more on my YouTube channel, which is weird because VODs normally only get like 5 to 10 views, and I've been getting roughly like 20 or 30 lately, which is unusual. But yeah, I got a VOD already downloaded on my computer that I need to upload. I got a VOD from last night that isn't public because my brother accidentally released what town I live in, like a doofus. So, because he was my little co-captain. So instead, we have to edit that out. When I say we, I mean I have to edit that out. So. So it's great. Everything's great for both you and I. Things are looking up. But I don't know. Twitter's weird. Like yesterday, some like person I followed on Twitter said that she was a 36-year-old Christian lady, and I was like, dang, you're old, XD. And she blocked me, and she said, your mother has failed in raising you in that department of talking about people's age. Your youth doesn't respect us older generations, and blocked me. I was like, that seems like a little bit of a overreach, saying that my mother failed in raising me in that department of calling women old. Which, like, really? I got a lot of church members who are old that call themselves old, and like, they'll be like, oh, you youngins, and I'll be like, oh, you old folks, you boomers. And like, we just joke around about it. But apparently 36 is like a weird age where women do not like making jokes about their age. Which I never understood. Like, why are some people like super sensitive about their age? Like, oh no, don't make fun of me. I'm only 36. I'm not at the end of my life yet. It's like, you're old enough to have a midlife crisis, okay? You'd live to 70, midlife crisis at 36. It wouldn't be that surprising, okay? It's okay. It's okay. But, and then I also got blocked by some like libtards on Twitter for me being like, why are you making this band political? And they got all upset. It's very interesting how quickly people get upset on the internet. The only time I get upset is when people are trying to dox me and try and find where I live, because that's just weird. That also could lead to swatting in the future, and I'd rather not get swatted. So, but other than that, it's like, why are you like this? Like, I have videos of like my front yard, but I always make sure that you can't see any addresses in the video. Like, I accidentally showed, I was recording the bird short, and while I was doing that, I accidentally showed 2 digits of my address, the last 2. So I edited that out. Like, I just cut that little clip, and it made it shorter and smoother and just better. So it worked out. But it's also like, really? Besides, like, you know, trying to hide direct addresses, I don't really care if people know my front yard or where I keep the bees. But it's also like, you know, try and not have people know where I live exactly. Like, I'm not gonna say insert generic address to like the public. Like, that's just weird. To another. Find peace in the water. But yeah, other than that, last night's stream co-hosted with my little bro. That was cool until he told people which town we live in. That was less pog. Kind of got me like really paranoid for a minute. But I'm all better now. Feeling pretty good. What do we have to talk about? I'm setting up for VBS. I think VBS setup went pretty well today. It's also pretty cute. I don't know what to talk about. I'm running out of ideas. Help me. Good thing I don't co-stream with my brother. Well, my little brother is like 12 and doesn't use the internet. He lives a very sheltered life, so he doesn't know. It's one of those things, it's like, okay, buddy, I'm gonna have to private this VOD and edit it before I put it on YouTube. But we don't name where we live. Okay, don't mention the town. And he's like, no, I'll make it better. I'll say that we live in Mexico. I'm like, that doesn't help. I'm pretty sure no one thinks I live in Mexico. I don't think anyone thinks I'm Mexican. Okay? If people thought I was Mexican, then maybe saying in Mexico might smooth it out, you know? But then that just sounds really absurd. So it's like, come on, bruh. Come on, doofus. So needy. Such a needy little brother. There we go. Boop. Hello. It is a Thursday afternoon. Yeah, I'm saying. You're willing to find that I'm still the love of your life. I love this song. Sing Just Real. All this I think it's Give Me Strength. Well, I don't worry about my brother giving out any kind of important info since they are young adults. Yeah. He's 12 and doesn't use the internet in any facet. So he doesn't know the generic rules of the internet, which is don't use your full real name and never give out your address. Those are the two. Oh, and don't give out your social security number. Don't give out passwords, emails, that kind of stuff. You know, have a personal email, have a business email, you know, that kind of thing. I don't think he'll ever use the internet. He is homeschooled and lives on a farm, so doesn't really use the internet. Instead, I buy him like TV shows and movies on DVD, and they watch them off DVD. 'Cause they don't really have internet over there in the country where they live. Lead me, 'cause I can do. Lead Me by Sing Just Real. Do. Well, that was nice, a little bit of EXP share. Exactly who you use. You think like Daniel, the lion's den. I'm banging. Not banging like people, but like head banging. We go again. If you everything. I gotta go set up again tomorrow. Tomorrow should be the last day of setup. which is good because I'm getting tired of setup. I'm gonna be honest. I want this project to start being wrapped up, but it's all good. One huge perk is that the kids are gonna love it. It looks fantastic with how far it is so far. And like every time I do something that's like a little sketchy, they're always like, "This guy's gonna get himself a Darwin Award." And my assistant pastor, his wife, she just looks over at me and goes, "I pray for you." Anytime I just say something stupid or like off the walls, unhinged. Like I look at them and I'm like, you know, courage is unpredictable. It's total insanity that you can rely on. They just look at me. I'm like, yeah. She'll be like, "I pray for you." I tell them things like, "If it doesn't kill you, you did it right." And they're like, that's not good. But it is what it is. You do be like that. Lord be my defense. We're jamming. Get back here. Get back. There we go. Kerblam. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. Bap, bam, 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 bam. Oh. Whoa, Black Betty, bam, bam. Whoa, Black Betty, bam, bam. Oh, I'm surprised I didn't spawn it. Ooh, whoop. How are you guys doing though? There's only one of you, and I'm running out of things to talk about. Take me back. I think this Sunday, I gotta go check on some beehives. I think it's supposed to be this Sunday. So I gotta go talk to someone from my church tomorrow to make sure that she's on board with me checking out the church, or the bees this Sunday before I forward. Well, I do believe I got access to having 40 stickers for stream stickers? Interesting. What's his name? Whoop. Do I have a slot here for this? That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. No. Well, there's where I keep my spare fish hat. I thought I had one. Do-do-do-do-do. Meow. Bam. But we jamming. Oh, hey, look at this guy. Okay, he left. We're getting it. We're getting it. We're growing this. We're growing the stream one shameless promo at a time. You think using zeros instead of O's for OO makes it look like the OO has dizzy eyes? Oop. You ever wonder to yourself, have I done X, Y, or Z today? And then have to think about it for like 30 seconds to figure out whether or not you've done X, Y, or Z. Like, have I pooped today? Have I gone to the bathroom? Have I eaten something? Have I taken a nap? Did I take a nap? Did I finish that? That's me just nonstop. Oh, I forgot to take a picture of my cutting board. I have a cutting board I finished that I was going to take a picture of. I'll remember to do that later, hopefully. Furzensteins. Joel. I'm going to guess that was KO or HI, and you just hit J instead of H. Or ho? Hi? I guess if you hit JO, just because your fingers were just like one set over from the HI. That would make the most amount of sense. But hello! We're trying to get my slayers going. We'll bang it out to some tunes. Okay, question, chat. There's like maybe 2 people here. But I have a question, okay? Good luck on that? Thanks. Guys, I have a question. So everyone knows that it's like weird to be standing and wiping, right? Everyone knows that it's weird to stand and wipe. And I'm in the stand and wipe crew, or I'm against the stand and wipe crew, okay? I'm a sitter wiper, okay? But if you get up to have to get another roll of toilet paper, is it weird to sit back down? Okay? That's the question. Is it weird? Is it weird to sit back down to finish your wipe? You're already standing. Okay? I'll agree. Standing up to wipe, weird. But if you're already standing, is it weirder to sit down to go back to wiping? Questions? I don't think that matters. You don't think it matters what I do? I'm asking you guys for your opinion. Okay, am I the weird one in this case? Because I'm gonna stand by it. Stand by if you stand up to get like another roll of toilet paper and you decide to stay standing, that's not weird. Okay, but deciding to stand to wipe after sitting down and going and defecating, Okay? As long as the job gets done. Alright, that's respectable, I guess. It's not about the technique, it's about how you finish. Okay, do you want the paper to roll over or under? That's the real question now. I'm an over type guy. Okay, I want to pull it down and have it come out, but have it be like split from the roll in front of me, not behind the roll. Okay? These are the important questions I ask myself, okay? Is it weird to wipe while standing if you had to get up to grab the toilet paper? I don't think so. Because, like, sometimes the people in my house don't replace the roll of toilet paper, so I have to, like, you know, go over to, like, either the other bathroom where it is, or, like, find a cupboard where there's more toilet paper. Sometimes it's kind of gross because I have to walk around. But usually after I take my evening dump, I take a shower, typically. But, I digress. It's still... Is it weird? That's disrespectful. What's disrespectful? To roll over the top, to roll underneath, or to not replace the roll of toilet paper. Sometimes, like, you won't replace the roll of toilet paper because you look at it and you're like, that's enough, and then you realize it's only, like, one layer. You always gotta replenish what you take. Exactly. I will say there's probably been a couple of times where I finished off the roll, and it was, like, just so happened to be perfectly clean on the last little bit of the roll, and I forgot to refill it. Like, that's probably happened. But, like, it's not common. It probably hasn't happened in years. And the amount of times where I've gone into the bathroom, taken my dookie, and then realized there was no toilet paper, it's like, how? How is there no toilet paper here? I look underneath the sink, and no toilet paper under the sink. Okay, gotta pull everything back up, go to the other bathroom where we keep all the extras, like the bulk storage, and then grab it from there. And if it's not in there, then I gotta pray that we got some out in the garage and go out of my house because I have a disconnected garage. Go fumbling through the garage just to go back to wipe. And at that point, I've walked so much, I'm not sitting back down to finish the wipe. Okay, I'm about to take a shower anyways. I guess at that point, I could have just taken a shower and wiped off in the shower, but I feel like flushing it down the shower drain is kind of gross, even though I know exactly how my house is piped up, and that the shower drain is literally connected to the toilet drain. Like, underneath the house, they're connected, like, within 5 feet of each other. But still, I digress. What do you guys think? Is it weird to wipe your bum if standing if you had to stand up to go get toilet paper? Okay, that's the question. You had to get up to go get toilet paper. Is it weird to still wipe while you're standing? Okay? So everyone hates on the standing wipers because everyone thinks that's weird. And I'm okay with agreeing that it's weird, but I think that mine is kind of normal. I think it's a little weird if you sit back down, if you had to get up, walk a little bit to go grab more. Well, I have no input since toilet paper in my house is in a vertical position. Oh, like it's vertical, so you pull it no matter which way it comes out sideways. So instead of your roll like going like 1, 2, 3, it goes 1, 2, 3, like how you would have paper towels in your kitchen. That's odd. You're such an odd little duckling, Piero. I guess these are like the deep shower thoughts that I have. Like, that's what I was thinking about, and while I was in the shower, because like I said, I always take a shower after my dumps, I was like, is that weird? Would that be weird if that scenario came up? Because that scenario has come up before. Would that be weird? It seems like you guys don't really mind. It seems like you guys don't think that's off-putting or something. I don't know. Do you guys have, like, odd shower thoughts like that? Like, is it more gay to be the bottom or the top in a gay relationship? I think it's gayer to be in the bottom. Okay? Like, it's either way, it's gay. But, like, I'm gonna say that being the bottom in a gay relationship is, like, 5% more gay. Thanks for the help before. No problem. Okay? That's my hot take. Okay? I know it's kind of hot. I know it's spicy. I know it's a spicy take. But being the bottom in a gay relationship is more gay. Now, my buddy, who's not gay, neither one of us are gay, does not think it's more gay. He thinks it's less gay to be the bottom. I'm like, I don't understand that, but okay. And then we have a gay friend, and he says that he's only ever been a top. So I'm like, is that less gay? Does that make him less gay? You agree with my friend being the bottom in a gay relationship is less gay? Because his argument was that you got an erotic zone up your butt. So if you're the bottom, then you're getting a better thing out of it. But I'm just like, yeah, but you're having something shoved up your butt. Like, the only time that having something shoved up your butt is okay and not gay is when it's a prostate exam. I think that's the only time that it's not gay, and even then it's still a little gay. Okay, things aren't supposed to go up the butt. Okay, that's where things are supposed to go out. What is your reasoning? What is your reasoning for the bottom being less gay? Okay, I want information. Okay, I want to crowdsource this, okay? We're crowdsourcing the four of us, because it says I got 3 viewers, so there's 3 of you guys and then plus me. So the 4 of us. It's more masculine. It is more masculine to be the bottom? You think it's more masculine to be the bottom beta? Or are you gonna like flip it as in like you have to show your vulnerabilities and that makes you more... You're endearing? Or enduring? Are you saying that's more masculine because it's supposed to hurt more, so you're just taking the pain? Is that where your masculinity comes from? That just makes you a masochist. This is weird. You guys are weird. I'm gonna die on this hill. Being the bottom's more gay. Okay? In a straight relationship, doesn't matter. Okay? I'm saying specifically in a gay relationship. I don't know about lesbians. I have not conducted lesbians to figure out if the top or bottom's more gay for lesbians. But I'm also not really sure how that functions. So I don't want to know. I haven't figured it out. I don't think I want to figure it out. Okay? But I do know that a gay relationship requires a butt. And just saying. Pretty sure having stuff up your butt is gay. And more gay. Not exactly. I don't know, man. Straight men typically don't like things up the butt. Maybe that's why I think it's more gay. It's because straight men typically don't want things up the butt. So that just automatically makes me think that the bottom is more gay because you're having something up the butt. And I'm not talking about like physically, okay? If you're gay and you're having it up the butt, but you're physically or like above them, that's still what I mean by being the bottom. Okay? Having it inserted is more gay than doing the inserting. Being the receiver. We'll say being the receiver in a gay relationship is more gay than being the giver. Right? That's my personal take. You don't have to agree with me, but being the receiver in a gay relationship is more gay than being the giver. Okay? I got 4 viewers, okay? We should not be tied 1 and 1, okay? We have an odd number of people. But if you're reverse... If you verse, it's neutral then? What do you mean? Are you saying if the receiver is on top, then it's neutral levels of gay? No. Physically, a physical location, when I was saying top and bottom, I should have not phrased it like that. I should have said receive or give. Okay? Receive or give the payload, okay? If you're receiving the payload, you are... In a gay relationship, if you are receiving the payload, that is more gay than giving the payload. That is what I'm saying. It's a verse, but it's usually someone who does both. Oh. We call those apodextrias. I got here and I arrived to bossy destroying discussion. Auntie Naughty, I'm so sorry. Your name is Auntie Naughty, and I came in asking questions. Which one is more gay? I'm sorry. I got off on like a bit of a tangent. I'm just saying, if you're in a gay relationship, being the receiver is more gay than being the giver, in my personal opinion. Okay, that's my personal take. Okay, I know it's a little controversial. It's not more gay. See, now that's where it gets controversial, because we disagree. Okay, I bet you don't like pineapple on pizza. Now it's gayer to be the bottom boy. Yeah, it's gayer to be the receiver. Like, you can be the giver and be underneath. That's why I switched from using top and bottom to being giver or receiver. Okay. You love pineapple on pizza? I bet you would. Pineapple can go on pizza. It's not my first choice, but it's not going to be my last choice. Okay. It's like a mid tier. Like, if someone asked me, would I rather have Canadian bacon or pepperoni? I'm probably going to pick pepperoni. But if there's, or like something else, but, you know, if it's either cheese or pineapple, I'm taking pineapple. Pineapple is better than cheese, but not as good as pepperoni, in my opinion. And like, I'm not even all that against. Like, I've had a handful of different types of pineapple pizza. Some of them are better than other pineapple pizzas, okay? But pineapple over cheese. Yes, I pick pineapple over cheese. Okay? A cheese pizza is not a pizza. Okay? A base pizza, not anything special, would be bread, usually red sauce, and then cheese. That is a template. Okay? That is a template for your pizza. Okay? All pizzas have those three things. Okay, you can mix out what type of cheese, you can mix out what type of sauce. But it always has bread, cheese, and sauce. Okay, so those three things make up a pizza. Now the toppings is where you get creative with it, okay? Cheese pizza isn't even a pizza in my opinion, okay? It's like saying that toast is not bread. Okay? It is bread. You just gave it a fancy little dress up and made it look a little different, okay? Now, if you put cinnamon and sugar on your toast, okay, now we're cooking. A little bit of butter too, okay, now we're cooking. But if you're just eating toast and it's just toasted bread, you're just eating hot, warm, stale bread, okay? Mushroom and pepperoni pizza? See, now that's something. What's a Neapolitan pizza? Naughty, what kind of pizza do you like? I don't like calling you naughty. Auntie, what? That doesn't sound great either. A-N? Is that better? Anne? No, Anne's like a real person's name. Person, what do you think? What is your take on pizzas, okay? Also, who in the world doesn't like any toppings on their pizza, okay? Like, who is over here like, oh, I don't like pepperoni, I don't like sausage, I don't like pineapple, I don't like Canadian bacon, I don't like mushrooms, I don't like olives, I don't like chicken, I don't like bacon. What? Who are you? Do you enjoy things besides vanilla ice cream? Are you like a vanilla Andy? Okay? Cheese pizza is equivalent to vanilla ice cream. Okay? Someone at me? Okay. I'm putting this in a shower's thought. That's my hot take. If vanilla ice cream is the equivalent to default ice cream, then cheese pizza is default pizza, okay? You need to put something on it, okay? And if you're like a vanilla lover or a cheese lover, that's fine, but just know that you're plain, okay? If you like both, dude, you probably eat your chicken without any seasoning, okay? You probably don't put any black pepper in your rice, okay? You need to at least add a little bit of black pepper to your white rice, okay? It needs something, okay? Neapolitan ice cream is ice cream? No, Neapolitan ice cream's fine because that's got chocolate and strawberry. It's chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Okay, you're adding 2 other flavors, okay? If you want, every scoop can have a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of strawberry, a little bit of all 3, you know. Cheese pizza is easy mode. Cheese pizza is like playing peaceful Minecraft. Yes, it's still Minecraft, but is it really? Okay, that's going in my Discord. Join the Discord, !, Discord socials, or links in the description below. Rice is goated, nothing better. Rice is goated no matter what time or day you have it on. Yes, but when you eat rice, are you eating just like generic white rice, like minute rice? Or are you, you know, eating like some brown rice, adding a little bit of seasonings, okay? Adding some black pepper or something. Like, you're not just eating plain rice. You're eating rice with something that adds flavor to it, okay? You're doing FNAF 0000 mode? I don't know what that means. I know what FNAF means. I don't understand what the zeros do. It's possible I do sometimes. You're just like chilling in the middle of the day and you're like, you know what I could go for? Some rice. You get your little rice cooker out or your boiling water and then you just pour in some rice and you're like, plain rice. This is what I really needed to start off my day. Cheap and filling? I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is you can at least, you know, add black pepper or, like, oregano or something. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of broth mixed in? If you're really feeling fancy, or one of those... Is it pronounced bouillon? Like one of those little cubes? Of, like, dehydrated broth? So that it's like, you know, a little bit of flavor. You're not just eating plain white rice. AI level. Oh, AI? Like, super easy? Soy sauce if I'm feeling fancy. Yeah, see, soy sauce, if you said you ate rice with just soy sauce, I would think that's a little weird, but that's not abnormal. Okay, a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of Worcestershire, call that a little something something. You know, that's not that bad. But if you're just eating plain white rice with nothing else, that's a little odd. That's like the equivalent of eating cheese pizza, okay? It's a little odd. Now, I get it if you don't like pepperoni, or if you're like a pseudo-vegan or something. Okay, that's fine. But at least put some like spinach on it, okay? Some artichoke. There's a spinach bacon artichoke that Papa Murphy's does. Dude, I love that thing. It is so good. You know what? I'm actually pick that up tomorrow after helping out at my church. Doesn't eat anything. Rice kind of doesn't, because it just goes so well with everything. But because of how universally accepted it is in everything, I feel like it should go with something, you know? Even if you did ketchup, okay? I've seen the cursed, you know, rice and ketchup, but please add something. The only time that I'd accept white rice is if the alternative was adding mustard, okay? Rice should not mix with mustard. It's just carbs. I get that. But they're healthy carbs, according to fitness guys. And I would know, because I'm not fat and I eat a lot of rice. Mainly because I'm allergic to everything else. Also, I have not had dinner yet. My dinner was gonna be, I'm gonna fry up some bacon, and then, chop it up into small pieces, and then with all the bacon grease, I was gonna crack a couple eggs, put in some jalapeno, some black pepper, some dehydrated onion, mix it all together in scrambled eggs with the bacon bits. And then I have like this egg omelet hodgepodge thing. And then I'm gonna toast some bread, put some mayonnaise and probably honey mustard on it, and then turn it into a sandwich. You know, I can cook, guys. I can cook, okay? Women would love me. I can cook. I keep bees. I help at my church. I volunteer. I build stuff. I'm physically good with my hands. I built shelving. I've built, I fixed the back porch light, sort of. It wasn't really broken, but I did upgrade it with some help of a church member of mine who's an electrician. Honey mustard is crazy. It is crazy. But what I'm saying, which is crazy because I actually like honey mustard, but I don't like honey. I must just like mustard. But what I'm saying is like, that's like saying, like eating just white rice is like eating a pancake without any syrup, any cinnamon, any whipped cream or anything. And if the pancake didn't have like natural sugar in the flour mixture, okay? My dinner was kisabi sandwich with Italian bread. I don't know what that kind of sandwich is. I'm gonna have to look that up. Kielbasa? Oh, is that the sausage? Oh, I know what this is. I have this frozen in my freezer right now. I actually have that. I have exactly what that is. By, I think it's Hill Farms is the company, the brand that I get. I take that, dice some potatoes, onions, bell peppers, and put in a little bit of garlic, and then mix it and cook it all together on a low, long heat till the potatoes are soft. And then it's called Camper Special. At least that's what my mom always called it. My mom called it Camper Special because she'd pre-make the whole thing except for the cooking part. Leave it all in like these gallon Ziploc bags. And then when we go out camping, she'd just pour the Ziploc bag into a skillet and then cook it on a propane burner while we're out camping. Kielbasa is crazy good in shakshuka. Okay, you're swinging at me with all these non-white names, and I'm not trying to be racist, but I really struggle with names that aren't white. Okay, not trying to be racist, I just struggle with non-white names. And if these are white names, us white people need to start getting better at naming things, okay? It's Russian? Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. It's a different kind of white. I think? Freaking, I sure hope so, man. It sounds Russian. I only know bad words in Russian, unfortunately. But I do know how to count the 7 in Japanese. It's Ichi, Ni, San, Yon, Go, Roku, Nana. And then 10 is Ju. Is Egyptian? Okay. Not being racist, but that ain't white. Okay. But Moses did come from Egypt. And Moses was pretty goated. You know, he kind of broke the first set of 10 commandments, but he was pretty goated. Big dog split in the Red Sea. I was gonna say something, but then I thought to myself, I was like, that's just gross. I'm not gonna say that. I don't know where I got Russian from. To be fair, it does sound, kielbasa does sound kind of Russian. You know, que pasa way, Holmes? That was something that my Hispanic buddy, Jose, I was gonna call him Hose B, but I was trying to not. Because he doesn't like being called Hose B very much. I am trying to become a better person. I'm working on myself, okay? I got a lot of flaws. Oh, the shakashuka? I would have guessed that was Middle Eastern because it kind of reminds me of that of shawarma. Just the way that it's spelled and sounds. The other one's Polish, that makes sense. Still a different type of white. Yeah, I would have guessed like Middle Eastern because of wherever shawarma comes from is where I would have guessed. If shawarma's Egyptian too, then you know I would have been right on the money with my guess. But I don't think that is. I think that's like Syrian or something. Iranian. Let me look this up. Shawarma. Where is its ethnicity? Middle Eastern. That's not. That's not. It's Turkish. Thank you. Thank you. Shawarma is Turkish. Okay, well, I guess Egyptian and Turkish, they're kind of close on a map. They're only a couple countries apart. They're less than the width of the United States apart, okay? Can you really blame me? I'm running out of ideas of things to talk about. We talked about pooping. We talked about being gay. We talked about ice cream and pizza. Okay. If you guys are eating brownies, okay, if you guys are eating brownies or cookies, are you the type of person that needs ice cream or not need? Are you the type of person that prefers your cookies and brownies with ice cream and your cake with ice cream, or do you prefer it without? Because I'm gonna be honest, if I'm having ice cream, I'm usually not wanting brownies. Like if I'm having brownies, I'm not gonna want ice cream. Although those ice cream cookies I do dig, but I don't want ice cream with my like warm brownies, okay? I don't want hot brownies or warm brownies with ice cream, and I don't like milk with cookies, okay? Is that weird? So you're saying brownies with ice cream is only okay if the brownies are warm? I presume that goes with cookies and milk. I think people like the fact that there's a temperature difference. I think something about certain people like the temp difference between like hot and cold foods and why they combine them. But in my mind, it's like when you're microwaving soup and then you get that one spot that didn't get microwaved warm and it's kind of cold. Okay, I don't like it. Okay, if I want to eat something that's hot or warm, I want to eat something that's hot or warm. If I want to eat something that's cold, I want to eat something that's cold, not warm or hot. Does that make sense? Like if I'm eating something that's hot and there's like a warm spot, I'm not upset. But if I'm eating something hot and there's something warm and there's a cold spot, I'm upset. That's why we stir. Yes. Now, when you mix brownies and ice cream together, that's like not stirring your soup. How many of you guys have eaten a salad that has blue cheese in it? Like, do you guys like I think Cobb is like the main type of salad that has blue cheese. I love a good Cobb salad with Thousand Island. Okay? You mix a Cobb salad, you pour in some Thousand Island, something about the blue cheesy Thousand Island combo, I dig. Okay? Now, you can call me weird, call me crazy. I can live with this. I'm dying on this hill. Blue cheese and Thousand Island tastes good to me when it's on a salad together. Okay? Now the question is have you guys ever tried that combination? Are you guys Thousand Island fans? Or are you guys Thousand Island haters? Are you guys like French? Or maybe you're like a vinaigrette? Do you guys like vinaigrettes? I am not a huge fan of vinaigrettes. I'm gonna be honest. Not a huge fan of them. Okay? Why would vinegar is not a flavor that I prefer. Okay? I've had vinegar in things. Typically don't enjoy it that much. Every once in a while, like salt and vinegar chips, I kind of dig, you know. Every once in a while. I would not say I go to the store for salt and vinegar. But if there was salt and vinegar somewhere, I'd give myself like a nice little bowl or plate of salt and vinegar chips for a little bit. I hate oily sauces. Okay, well, to me, vinaigrettes tend to be oily. Where Thousand Islands tend to actually be more thick and viscous. I think is the word I'm looking for. So, would you say that you like Thousand Island more than like a vinaigrette? Why are they called vinaigrettes? Why not vinegar sirs? I like sauces that can taste the oil in is what I meant. Oh, you like sauces where you can't taste the oil. Okay, so when you go to an Italian restaurant and they give you those oils for dipping the breadsticks into, do you dip the breadsticks into that sauce? That weird, like, black or yellow oil? It's like yellowish, clear. Do you guys do that? Do you mix the oils for the bread? Do you guys even know what I'm talking about? At Italian restaurants? The oil to mix with your bread? I swear, it's like a vinegar, like, descendant. It's like, why? You're adding vinaigrettes to bread? If I'm eating bread, I don't want the healthiness of the vinaigrette, okay? That's irrelevant. I want to eat bread. I'm eating bread to eat bread. I'm not eating bread to eat your liquid. You guys know what I mean? I cannot afford those kinds of restaurants. Okay, I can't afford them anymore. But while I was employed, I could. Okay, while I was still working, I could. But it's just the question. I'm posing a question to you. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes or no? If you do, are you in agreement with me of adding the sauces? Like, yeah, maybe a little bit of sauce and like a bite or two, but for the most part, I want to just eat a breadstick. Why does my family always look weird to me that I don't want to add vinaigrette to my breadsticks? I'm sorry. I don't want this weird black or olive oil looking sauce on my bread. I want to eat bread. I'm allergic to bread. I don't get to eat it very often. And when I get to eat it, I want to eat it. Okay, I guess that would be like the equivalent of like white rice, but I'm pretty sure the bread has like, you know, it's like garlicky bread. Like, you know, other butter and stuff on it already. So I don't want to mask the garlic bread flavor with these weird other colored sauces. No sauce? You're a no sauce? Okay. We got one guy in the no sauce camp. I somehow just lost 3 viewers. Sad. I went from 5 to nothing. I guess my bread take was too spicy. Rice is good. Rice is good. Now, how about oatmeal? Are you a big oatmeal guy? Just lurkers? No, because lurkers still count towards viewer count unless they muted my stream through Twitch. You remember? Boop, boop, boop. Boop, up. It's not even 10 o'clock yet? Oof. Oatmeal is good. See, I want to like oatmeal. But every time I have oatmeal, I don't enjoy it. But oatmeal cookies, I do. I think it's a texture thing. I think it's a texture thing for me with oatmeal. Also depends on how you make it. Brown sugar, butter, water, microwave. That's how my family always made it. And like, sometimes it sounds really good. And then I make it for myself. I'm like, this is garbage. Like, that has happened to me like 3 or 4 times in my life in recent years. Where I do that to myself. I'm like, come on. What am I doing? Not homemade, you gotta boil it? Oh! Boil it. Interesting. Because I've used hot water, but not boiled. Odd. I haven't gotten a howling scroll for the last hour, and then I get 2 in 5 minutes. Interesting, interesting. Honestly, though, I'm not expecting for me to have very many viewers till a little after 10 my time, because that's usually when I get more. You like your oatmeal thick, so you use really hot water. Okay, cup of coffee. You know, like those styrofoam cups of coffee. How high are you filling your generic styrofoam cup with coffee, and then how much is creamer, okay? I'd say you fill it up to the ring with normal coffee, and then you fill the little ring section with creamer. That is the ratio. I recently picked up some chocolate creamer for my church. Some sugar-free chocolate creamer from Safeway. It was decent. None? You're a no creamer? You just like your coffee black and bitter? See, I like a little bit of bitter coffee, but that's really bitter. I like my coffee slightly diluted with something else besides water. Okay? Because when it's too bitter, then I'm not really enjoying it. That is my second foraging boost that I've gotten this week. Just equal and maybe milk if I'm at home. You can see, if you were to say you go and get your cup of coffee and then you put in like a splash of milk to cool it off, that's respectable. Okay, that's respectable. I can live with that. My dad does that. I just like, you know, a little bit of flavor in mine because I like the flavor of coffee, but not by itself. Coffee, I like when it's mixed with something, okay? It can't be just pure coffee. Because then it's just too strong, I think. And I think that's my issue with it. Okay, I'm gonna go pee real quick. Woo! I'm gonna go pee, grab a soda. It's gonna be great. I'll be back in a moment. Dang. Okay, chat. I'm here. Give me a moment. Here. Listen to this. Freaking. Oh! Ah! The dew! I can feel it coursing through my veins. If I'm being real, I don't drink coffee for flavor. That's valid. See, I do. I drink coffee for both the flavor and for the effect. Be better. It better be diet Mountain Dew. Diet isn't bad, but I am, you know, not diabetic yet. If I'm gonna be honest, if I had diabetes, if I found out I have diabetes, I'm cutting out all soda out of my life. Okay, I'm not going with diet. I'm just cutting soda out of my life. Diet clears? No, no. Diet Mountain Dew isn't bad. Okay, I've had Diet Mountain Dew. It's not bad, not like other diets. But if I'm gonna have a soda, I don't care for it to be healthy, and we don't know the long-term side effects of having that arsenic or whatever's in it. We know corn syrup isn't good for you, but we can at least measure how bad it is for you. We don't know the long-term side effects of having the stuff that's in diet to make it still sweet. Oh well, yeah, see? Gym it away. I don't even hit the gym. I just got a high metabolism and I'm like mildly anorexic. I do have voice crack. I do have mild eating habit issues because I'm allergic to wheat, gluten, and dairy. So a lot of the times I either get something that's very low in those departments or I just skip eating. After doing that so many times, I now have an issue where like I don't eat. Like I had lunch today at between 1 and 1:30. I had lunch. That was and or breakfast. Like I had a granola bar I think in the morning. At like 9:45 I had a granola bar. I woke up at 9:30. So I woke up at 9:30, 15 minutes later, had a granola bar, and then didn't eat till 1:30. We'll say at the latest, because I know it's sometime between 1 and 1:30. Had some Chinese chicken salad, and then I've eaten one granola bar since then. Oh wait, I actually had some other granola bars too. So I've had 3 granola bars today and almost a pound of Chinese chicken salad. And then I'm on my second can of soda. Every debuff? Maybe. Looks debuffed. Charisma? Debuff. Talkative? Too much. Honestly, I look a lot like my profile picture. Or not my Dialga one, but my my banner. I look a lot like my banner. Because the person that I had make it, I gave an actual picture of me. So I actually look pretty close to that banner. Just slightly less twinkish. Okay? That's it. Like, probably like 15% less twink, but that's basically me. Oh, I actually have short hair now. I don't have the long red hair anymore, but I would be willing to grow it out if a girl wanted me to grow it out. I would not cut my hair for a girl. I cut my hair for my brother's wedding. You haven't actually cut your hair? Technically I cut it for my brother's fiance, but it was actually him. He really wanted me to get a haircut. So I said, you know what, brother? I love you. I'll get a haircut. Okay, you really want me to get a haircut? I'll do it. Where's mine? This isn't mine. Oh, I haven't even spawned mine. No, this is a haircut. Okay, I used to have... Easter of last year, I had a ponytail that went down to almost my waist, and now I have hair that doesn't even go past my ears. Basically, I have like the generic Steve Rogers military haircut. Actually, probably more strict than that. He gave my bar. Well, I say my barber, but it's the first time I've ever been at him. I don't really have a barber. It's usually my mom. But this guy cut my hair short. I would be willing to regrow out my hair to being long. Like, I didn't want it that short, okay? How short it is not how short I wanted it. I wanted it about twice as long as what it currently is. So, I probably won't have to get a haircut for well over a year and a half. So, that's kind of worth it, you know. What I was gonna say is, if a girl wanted me to grow out my hair long, or to grow out a beard, and or shave my beard or keep my hair not long and like, you know, an average medium length, I would do it. Because ultimately, it's one of those things where like, if a girl asks me to cut my hair, then I should be able to ask her to wear something more modest, okay? If she doesn't allow me to tell her to wear something more modest when we're going out, and she makes me cut my hair, that's not a good relationship. But I'd say, like, if she wants to tell me how to dress or cut my hair or something like that, then I should be able to say, hey, I don't like this, you should dress more modestly. Okay? Yoga pants should not be for in the public, okay? Okay? Just saying. You're trying to sell your buns, and I don't like that, okay? Don't wear yoga pants out in public. Jeans, you can wear skinny jeans. Okay, they don't invoke that same primitive caveman oonga boonga booty brain, okay, that most guys have, okay? And some women should not be wearing yoga pants, okay? Okay, children, don't think children should be wearing yoga pants. And don't think fat women should be wearing yoga pants, okay? Tortas should not wear yoga pants. I'm sorry if you're a torta pounder. I'm not. Should not be wearing yoga pants, okay? Gorlock the Destroyer, do not wear yoga pants. Okay? I think, like, once you pass the threshold of 200, 250, you shouldn't be wearing yoga pants, okay? I understand. They're comfortable. Switch to sweatpants, okay? I don't want to see all your, you know, all your curves that are in the wrong places, okay? Tortas. I'm not fat shaming. I don't care if you're fat, okay? I know plenty of fat people that I love, okay? I have no problem with you being fat. I have a problem with you being fat, thinking that it's sexy, and wearing yoga pants, okay? If you're fat and you think you're sexy because you're fat, or if you're fat and you think yoga pants look good on you because you're fat, stop it, okay? You're fat, understand, dress accordingly, okay? I do not care if you're fat as long as you dress accordingly. You can wear sweatpants, okay? Don't wear yoga pants, okay? I don't want to see your fat rolls, okay? I don't know. I think that certain people should have their own freedom of expression, though. I agree, but your freedom of expression is burning my eyes. I need bleach, okay? I agree with freedom of expression, but at some point, yoga pants feels like indecent exposure, okay? I once saw a man wearing yoga pants, and I just saw his full rock on hard going on. It's like, nah. That's not okay, because if you said freedom of expression, then that should mean that people should be able to openly wear thongs out in public, but we have, like, laws against that, because then that's indecent exposure. Okay? I'm not saying that if you're fat, you shouldn't wear yoga pants because it's indecent exposure, but you should try and be somewhat considerate to those around you, okay? If you're fat, you know, you might smell a little bit, make sure to take a shower daily, okay? Make sure to wear a little bit of deodorant to mask it a little bit, okay? Just like, I don't care if you're fat, as long as you're still grooming yourself. I guess that also kind of applies universally, okay? Even if you're skinny, but you're not grooming yourself and I can smell you, you need to start grooming yourself. But it's just harder for people that are heavier because it tends to be, you know, you have more skin, you have more pores, you're gonna smell more. Okay? Personally, not super attracted to fat people. That might also be, you know, I might be a little biased, okay? I can accept that I might be a little biased. But, you know, if you're obese, don't wear yoga pants. Wear sweatpants. I have no issue then. Because yoga pants are specifically meant to be sexualized. From my perspective, they are specifically meant to make you look sexy and be sexualized, okay? Yes, exactly. If you're fat or skinny, if you've been both fat and skinny and you don't think it's that hard to stay clean, then, like, you know, now I understand, you know, at a certain level, your fatness becomes a health issue. I'm gonna give that guy a friend request. He seems pretty based. For being based and red-pilled. What I'm saying is like... Where was I going with this? I was cooking. I don't care if you're fat, as long as you being fat doesn't impose on me. Either visually imposing, okay? Those people that, like, there's like a YouTuber who's black right now, and he's like doing like my 700-pound fitness journey, and like he's done like videos of him swimming, and like that doesn't bother me, okay? Seeing fat naked people, well, I guess he was in swimming trunks, mostly naked people, does not bother me. Okay? The only part that bothers me is fat women wearing yoga pants, because yoga pants are supposed to be kind of sexualized, right? That's not just me. That's not like some sort of weird gooner brain I got. You don't think so? Like, I feel like initially they were meant for yoga, but I feel like nowadays not leopard print, but like standard black yoga pants, kind of like that. I might be a little gooner brain, okay? But something about tight black yoga pants, kind of a thing. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I feel like that's most men, okay? Isn't that why, what's her name? I think it's Sweet Belle, or something like that, Sweetie Belle. A VTuber, a Christian VTuber, her model was like some slightly above average boob size, like it's like not a little bit bigger than medium boob size, with a very mild amount of cleavage, and yoga pants, and like a lot of her viewers were like, this is supposed to be like a Christian community, and we're kind of lusting over your avatar. Can you try and like make it more modest? And she said, I got you. And now her character is like in like a constant winter trench coat, okay? And if you find winter trench coats hot, that's great, but it's not necessarily as sexualized, okay? When you think of like athletic runners running down the street, or women doing bench presses, what are they always wearing? Yoga pants, okay? They're doing activities that make themselves look better, look hotter, and they're doing it in yoga pants. So maybe that's like the sub connection in my mind. But I'm gonna be honest, it's real. Let me Google this. Okay, Google AI. It is difficult to pinpoint an exact number, but many men find yoga pants attractive on women. Yoga pants are popular for their ability to highlight a woman's curve and figures. Some people associate it with confidence and adventurous vibes, while associated with wearing yoga pants, according to UGAwear.com. I'm not trying to be odd. Okay, I'm not trying to be weird. I'm not trying to be a gooner. A lot of people do. I feel like that's not that weird, okay? If Google says it's pretty common, it can't be that weird. I could ask Grok on Twitter, that weird, like, AI thing. And I'm calling it Twitter. I don't care if it's now considered X. I think Elon's just, he's weird. Elon's constantly playing devil's advocate. But because of how much he plays devil's advocate, I can't like him, and I can't hate him. Yeah, he's in the guild. Pretty cool. Elon is a grifter. I cannot like him. Elon is trying to get both political parties to love him so much that he is alienating both political parties. That's how I look at him. Okay, he's kind of a deadbeat dad. I can sympathize with him in some things, but eh. Is this Casting Crowns still? Yeah, I love Casting Crowns. But no, it's like, if yoga pants are meant to not extrapolate, exemplify? If yoga pants are supposed to exemplify women's curves, I don't think I want to check out I don't think women should wear them. So you don't want those curves exemplified. But yeah, like Elon Musk, like I think it was his son, his like teenage son, becoming like a transgender. I could see how someone would not want that and be sad, especially since like the son has like disowned him. I think it's son. I don't know. But daughter, his son turned into a daughter, or his daughter turned into a son. I don't really know. All that I know is that his kid is now transgender and doesn't talk to him, and he's really sad about that. Okay. Either way, I can understand, like, I can be sympathetic towards him because his child no longer wants to maintain contact with him. I can sympathize with him for that and be empathetic towards that, but he's also kind of like a douche. I thought from what I've seen is he tried to keep comms with child, but you know, he's like a baby daddy for like a lot of people, and he's not really involved in any of his kids' lives. Okay, he is literally devil's advocate for everything. Have you guys ever seen Hamilton? What's up? High conspiracy number 5. Have you guys ever seen Hamilton, the musical, where he's talking to Bert and he's like, Bert, if you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? That's Elon in a nutshell. He is just constantly playing devil's advocate. Thank you, Conspiracy05, for the follow. Much love, greatly appreciated. I stream Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. PST. Excellent Discord, social damage below, and I hope you enjoy your stay. No, what I was saying is, like, Elon constantly is playing. Sorry, too broke the sub. That's fine. You don't have to sub up. Although, I do have 15, or not 15, I have 11 and a half hours more of Dugan's floor 7s that I have to run, and once I'm done running all those, we will be doing a giveaway. So whoever subbed to me at the end of that stream will be put into a giveaway to get any one of these items in these backpacks. Which are honestly those first 3 aren't really worth anything. This 4th one might, and then this one of the actual good stuff will be up for grabs, including a Necron handle if I drop a Necron handle in the next 11 and a half hours of floor 7s. Elon has been the MAGA grift for a while. First he was like big, like, oh look at me, I'm EVs, I make solar panels, oh the left loves me. And then he goes, okay, now I'm gonna run with Trump, I'm gonna make Trump look really good, we're gonna do this and that. And then he got rid of his like few left and then picked up a whole bunch on the right. And then he just said that Trump was in the Epstein files, which yes, Trump went to the Epstein Island twice, and that was it. This isn't the tree capitator, this is the Daedalus axe. It's copying my G-Drag stats, its base stats up there. The strength, attack speed, magic fine. That's what it's doubling. Elon Musk just tries to play devil's advocate too much for me to trust him in any meaningful political role where he is the main lead figurehead and he gets to do as he pleases. The reason why I was kind of fine with him running behind Trump and being Trump's like helper is because everything he does, he has to run by Trump. And I trust Trump more than I trusted Biden or Kamala, because Kamala was constantly changing she was just played identity politics, kept on changing in my opinion. And then Biden wasn't senile at all. And that other guy, Waltz, he kind of seemed creepy. And JD Vance seems like a good family man. So, really, I'm voting. I honestly voted more based on, less based on Trump and more based on the a VP. Because apparently I've also heard, like, JD is trying to keep Trump out of the war between Israel and stuff, so that's cool. If that is true. If he's trying to, like, keep us out of it. Like, I don't want to become... I don't want to see the destruction of the Israeli state, but I also don't want us getting in another war in the Middle East. Because I like Israel because I'm Christian, and, like, biblically, I'm kind of called to it, sort of. Because it does say in the end of times, Israel will be a country with no walls and no borders, and there will be a time of peace for them. And right now they have tons of walls and stuff. So, in prophecy, at some point, they're supposed to be the top dog. But, Israel has done nothing but escalate at this point, though. Israel, to my knowledge, has only really taken out military figureheads besides... I think there's been, we'll highball and say 1,000 civilian casualties, where there's been like 100 Israeli casualties, but that's because they have the Iron Dome and it's shooting down a lot of the missiles. But none of what Iran is launching at them is directly pointed at military outposts, but at the general population, which is why I can't really back Iran. Having said that, Iran has been underneath a totalitarian government regime that they hate. The citizens hate it. The regime has less than a 25% approval rating, or less than 30% approval rating, and yeah, it's a Hypixel thing, not a specifically Skyblock thing, and they might be heading to a civil war, and if the Iranian people go to civil war, overthrow their government, and go for, like, you know, a proper government instead of whatever regime they have right now, you know what? Then I will say that the war would have been worth it, because we basically just freed a whole bunch of people from being captors, where if you're a woman in that country and you're not wearing a hijab, you get murdered by the Gestapo, basically. Okay, so, like, I don't want to be over there. I don't want us to be over there. But if it's overall, if we can do it in such a way where it's a win for the Iranian people and it's a win for Israel, I'm good with it. Because ideally, Asmongold said this, and this is something I agree with Asmongold on. I don't agree with him on everything, but I do agree with him on this. I wish no one had nukes, but I would rather get involved if it prevented Iran from having nukes, because we know that they just want to kill the United States. Apparently they've had attempts on trying to kill Trump, allegedly. I don't know how true that is. But either way, like, we know that they want to kill Israel. We know that Iran wants to kill Israelis. They fund Hezbollah and other, like, terrorist organizations. They've just been a terrorist proxy for a long time, and we know this. We know that that government funds terrorists that hate the United States. So I'm not against us preventing them from getting nuclear stuff, but as soon as we stop them from being able to enrich nuclear stuff, I think we should pull out after killing off a couple more, like, big political figureheads, to try and give the citizens a chance to fight against the regime. Okay, I think we should remove the nuclear threat, let them have a chance to fight against the regime, and if they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. Okay, that's what I think. Take out all nuclear things, take out a couple of the big military figureheads that are trying to run the nation, that are radical Muslims, and then let the citizens try to take over. Because in 1979, there was a overthrow of the government where it became like this big radical thing, and, you know, you get like the police killing women for not wearing hijabs and stuff. Where before that, I've seen videos that are in black and white of them, and they look like Miami. It looks like Miami, but with, you know, darker skin tone people than, you know, pasty white boys. And if, you know, this war leads to that, and then going back to, you know, being like, from being a third world country into a first world country, you know, I think that's great. But I don't want people to die. I mean, the U.S. also has their hands on it. That's why that happened. Yeah. I honestly how should I phrase this? I love the U.S. I hate the government. But I think that we have the best government in the world. I just don't think government's a good thing. The problem is that once you lead into complete anarchy and everybody self-governs, everyone has their own rules and regulations and beliefs, and it's hard to regulate so many people. That's why we need a government, because otherwise, if everything's by perspective based, then people that are psychopaths that literally do not feel anything when they kill people, like they just don't, it doesn't faze them, would just go around killing people because it doesn't faze them and there's no punishment. So I'm not against government. I just think that we should have a small government that is supposed to be more hands-off than hands-on. I think the United States government is too hands-on in a lot of things, so that we could be a lot more hands-off on. That's it. I think the U.S. government should care about. I think the main things that the U.S. government should work on is like infrastructure, keeping infrastructure in check. You know, water companies, gas companies, electrical companies, roads, like streets, parks, that kind of stuff, and foreign affairs and military. But I think like all these like little things, I think foster care. I think foster care is a good government program, but there's a lot of government programs that I just don't agree with. I'd say probably you're to write out a list of every single government program and tell me exactly which each one did. I'd probably do away with at least 75% of all government programs. I think only 25% of government programs are actually worth it. But like the US government like has done so many terrible things over the years. Like MK Ultra was awful. MK Ultra made a whole bunch of domestic terrorists. That's one that people don't really like to talk about. And then Ruby Ridge was a couple of corrupt government officials killing off some guy because they just hated him. And then that turned into a bad PR stunt. And then to do it, they overexerted force in Waco. And then, you know, killed 30 children. Yeah, that happened. The U.S. government, the FBI killed 30 U.S. children. Innocent children. Children that had been victims of molesting and rape. They killed 30 of them. Not all of them were, but like some of the people that died were definitely victims of rape and sexual assault. And the US government was like, you know what, we're just gonna torch them. And they actually died due to either asphyxiation, which is suffocation, or to burning to death. Because they were trapped. It's really awful. There's a lot of videos about Waco. I would suggest to watch a lot of them. It was just such a terrible thing that our government did. And one of the reasons why I'm so anti, like, government overreach. Because, like, you could be like, oh, well, the government stepped in LA, so do you also hate that? Kind of different, because in LA, they were throwing bricks at police officers and burning buildings, where the other guys were a pedophile cult, sort of. So, like, one is very violent, where the other one is, you know, less stabby, brain damage, murder, you know, fire. They were also a doomsday cult, so, you know, when you go guns a-blazing into a doomsday cult, they're gonna assume that the doomsday is happening now. So, and they had good intel, too. It's hard to say because the government is wholly dependent on who runs it. Well, that was ran by the FBI director. Both Ruby Ridge and Waco was the same FBI director. And same squad, same what is it? Not district, but, not group. Precinct? Maybe precinct. The same people that carried out Ruby Ridge are the same group of people that carried out Waco. And Ruby Ridge, I believe, was in Idaho, where Waco was in Texas. It was the same group of people, same snipers and everything. It's like how efficient the country runs, not those. Like, I love our nation. I love most of the people in our nation. There's very few that I dislike. I'd probably say, like, maybe 10 or 20 that I personally know that I dislike. And that includes, like, celebrities. Okay? I think this is a great nation. I think God has given us a gift in this nation. And I think that we are kind of squandering it and dividing ourselves over very minuscule things. I think we're making mountains out of molehills. Okay, I want to unite this country, not divide it. I think at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We just disagree on how we should get to that end goal. Okay, we can, I think the problem is we can all agree that A needs to be fixed. But you want to take Route 1 where I want to take Route 2. And I think that's where the United States is most divided. Which is crazy. Because, you know, let's try one route, and if one route doesn't work, let's switch routes. If we're already doing one route and it's not working, let's switch routes. And that's how I look at it. Like, I don't hate immigrants. I just think that immigrants should come over through legal ports of entry because, statistically, a lot of the children and women that come across illegally get sex trafficked. And I think sex trafficking is bad. So, in my view, I think to prevent sex trafficking, we need to lock up our borders so that there's less victims of sex trafficking. And that's why we need to, you know, let people come in legally. During parts of the Biden administration, they were letting adults come over with children without even DNA testing if the child was that adult's. Okay, so some kid could get kidnapped and then shipped over the border, and the U.S. Like Border Patrol could not do anything about it because Biden said in a law that they can't even DNA test to see if the kid is related to the adult. So the Mexican cartel went from a $1 billion company at the end of Trump's first term to being from $1 billion at the end of Trump's first term to being a $7 or $8 billion organization over the course of 4 years during Biden's term because of how much more drugs, cocaine, and sex trafficking they were bringing over the border. So that's why I'm anti-border patrol, is because I want people to not be dying of drug overdoses. I don't want people getting sex trafficked. And a good way of stopping that is by closing up our borders. Like, I think we can all agree sex trafficking's bad, and we can all agree that, you know, bringing people into the United States is a good thing. Okay, I want immigrants. It's just how we want to get about it are different. You might say open borders, I say closed borders. You might say, well, if we bring them in, then they're not going to get, you know, have assaults in their country. And I say, well, if we bring them in, then they're going to be assaulted in our country. And it's going to just make other people profit. Like, we just have different views on how we should get to point A. And that's where the United States is so divided right now. Is all these things. For me, I view it with how they're going right now is wrong. So you think how the U.S. government is operating right now is wrong. I can agree that in some aspects they're operating wrong, but I think in other aspects they're operating right. I think the tariffs could pan out to be a good thing. The thing is that tariffs are a long-term investment to try to get something to work. So with a long-term investment, we got to figure it out. But, you know, Trump ended a war between, what was it, Pakistan and India? Was it Pakistan and India that went to war for like less than a month? And then Trump came in and was like, hey, if you two don't knock it off, I'm just going to slap tariffs on both of you guys to the point where you guys aren't going to make money. And they're like, okay, we'll be friends. We'll play nice. And then they signed a peace treaty. Ukraine war is on de-escalation, but that could just be for how long it's been going on, that it's a natural pattern for war. But that I won't pin that on either one. That's a bot. That was a bot that I banned, not a person. Very unfortunate bot. Yeah, trying to sell ads or sell subs and stuff or followers. So like that's I can disagree with a lot of things the US government does, but right now, you know, tariffs, we'll have to see how it pans out, okay? I'm very neutral on tariffs. Closed southern border, I like how he did it, okay? I think that that's, in the long term, I think closing our southern border will do more good than harm. If you want to say we should hire more government employees and train them to proper vet more people to let them legally come into our country, big pro, okay? I can say close border, but make it so we have more people that, you know, make the line move faster. Sure. It's like hiring more people at the DMV, okay? I'm completely fine with hiring more people at the DMV. I'm completely fine with hiring more custom people to make sure that people are coming into this country legally and through the right ports and making more citizens. I'm completely fine with that. Okay? But after seeing so many, like, people get raped by immigrants and murdered by immigrants, you know, repeat offenders too, repeat murderers, repeat rapists, repeat sexual offenders in the United States just get deported and then brought right back in because we had the open border policy with Biden. I just didn't like that. My main goal, my number one, how should I phrase this? My main concerns in my life in this order is God, my family, my country. That's how I prioritize things. Okay? And once I have those first two, country's third, okay? Jesus Christ, family, country. Order of priorities. And since part of my family staying safe has to interlock with country, you know, gotta take the proper precautions. I also understand, like, just because I'm a Republican and my personal viewpoints tend to be right-leaning, you know, a lot of Republicans argue, hey, we should be able to have full auto. Hey, I think we should be able to have the, I forgot what they call the trigger, where when you pull it fires and when you release it fires. The double trigger. I can understand why some people would want that. I'm gonna say no to those. Personally, not a big fan of those. Silencers, go for it. I have no issue with silencers. They're not as silent as movies make them out to being. And they can actually help in a lot of cases with just, you know, it's more masked, you can get a better grip. I don't know why we're banning grips. If someone... The thing is I want people to exercise proper gun safety, and if adding a specific type of grip that the government says is illegal because it makes it too easy to use the firearm, then you're basically saying, oh, this weapon is now too safe for people to have, is how I look at it. So... But, like, I can understand no full auto. I've seen too many people accidentally kill themselves with full auto on Live Leak and stuff like that. Same with the double trigger. Because most guns don't have double trigger, you're not thinking about it. So when you release it fires again, you might accidentally shoot someone. Maybe killing someone. So that's the reason why I say no full auto, no double trigger, okay? Semi-automatic, I'm completely fine with. You set up semi-automatic so you can pull the trigger and, like, have it go as fast as you can click in a video game. That's still completely fine with me. Okay, you have your semi-automatic set up so as fast as you can click a mouse, you can pull that trigger. Completely fine with that. You want to have whatever bump you want? Fine with that. You want to have whatever scope you want? Fine with that. You want to have whatever grips you want? Fine with that. You want to have full auto? Not okay. And the reason why I'm so pro Second Amendment is because it's supposed to prevent if the government becomes like Iran, where they're killing people because they don't agree with, you know, wearing hijab or something. That's what the Second Amendment's for, is to protect our First Amendment and others. The Second Amendment is strictly used for hunting and self-defense. Okay, it should be self-defense and then hunting. That is why we have the Second Amendment. As long as you have the right to defend yourself, I think that's a universal right that you should have. Is the freedom of speech and right to defend yourself until your freedom of speech is making other people unsafe by either, you know, you being a radical and saying we should kill certain people. As soon as I think you start saying we should kill certain people, I think that's when you've gone too far, in my personal opinion. But because it's illegal to say that you want to kill the president. It's illegal to, like, threaten to kill, like, people. Like, there's like how it's illegal to yell fire in a theater and that kind of stuff. You know, there's some things that I feel like freedom of speech does not encompass. You know, I think freedom of speech should, I don't know how much about the gun laws, Lamau. Let's put it this way. There's certain gun laws in the United States that don't make sense, okay? You can't have a grip on a pistol, but you can have that same grip on a submachine gun and have it be legal in the state of California. Okay? There's a attachment that you can put your Glock into. I think it was Glock. It might be 1911, but I think it's Glock. There's attachments that you can put on your Glock to basically turn it into a submachine gun, and that's legal. But if you change your grip to being a slightly different type of grip, now it's illegal. It's illegal to have a magazine over 10 rounds anywhere in the United States, I believe. It might be different in other states, but I know it's illegal in the state of California to have a mag over 10. And, like, it doesn't really matter for our country, for our state, but there are states where there's wild boars. And boars sometimes take, you know, you can put 3 or 4 bullets into a boar, and if you're not hitting a vital organ, that boar's still going to maul you. So if you're getting hunted by a pack of wild boars, which are, you know, 6 or 7, maybe more, if you're having 7 wild boars at you and you only have a 10-round clip, that means you got to be able to reload very quickly. Because wild boars is a huge issue, I think in Texas. So, not in California, but, you know, there are self-defense reasons against nature to want a firearm with more than 10 rounds in a magazine. Okay? I'm just saying. I think that one's ridiculous. Because there's some pistol manufacturers that manufacture magazines, and they have a little safety pin in them so that they can't go past 10 bullets. But if you take out that little clip or pin, you can fit in like an extra 3 or 4. And now it's illegal. So it's literally like a little, it's like a screw or a metal pin or like a piece of plastic or something. And if you pull that out, you are now a felon. Shotguns have to be a certain length. If they're an inch underneath a certain length, you are now a felon. I think it's 2 feet. If you make a shotgun under 2 feet long, then you're now a felon. The barrel has to be over 2 feet. If your barrel is under 2 feet, then it's illegal. Even though having a longer barrel is safer. But having a shorter barrel, they say it makes it more concealable. But the thing is that if you run like a double barrel shotgun, you can literally fold that thing in half and hide it better than, you know, their whatever it is. Because some shotguns are able to be broken in half like a straw. You take a straw and you fold it in half. Some shotguns can do that. And that's completely illegal. But oh no, if you take a normal, you know, 12 gauge that, you know, holds slugs and holds 6 slugs, and you cut that barrel like an inch too short, now it's a crime. But if you take your, you know, your double barrel shotgun and you fold it completely in half, where it's way more easily concealable than, you know, your normal 12 gauge, that's now a crime. It's like, okay, well, one's clearly more concealable, but just because its barrel is technically longer, even though it's easier to conceal, it's not a crime. Does that make sense? Because I'm just pulling arbitrary numbers up. I don't actually know exactly what it is, but let's say the barrel has to be 2 feet for a shotgun, okay? And then the stock, the bump stock is, you know, another 1.5 feet, okay? So now you have a, what, 3.5 long shotgun, okay? That's fine, okay? Or we'll say it's 4 foot. Let's say it's a 4 foot shotgun from tip to butt, okay? 4 feet, okay? Now, let's say you're able to break the barrel in half, so the barrel and the butt of it can completely fold in half. Now your 4 foot shotgun can be concealed, you know, in a much smaller area because it folds in half. So you can fit in a duffel bag easily. Like even a small duffel bag you could fit in. Because you fold it in half, it loses 1.5 feet on the back. So now it can fit in a 2 foot distance, okay? So now your almost 4 foot shotgun is now only 2 feet, okay? That's not illegal. But if you took your 4 foot shotgun and cut off 3 inches off the end, you are now committing a crime that can get you locked in jail for over 10 years. So it doesn't matter that I can make my 4 foot shotgun 2 feet long to conceal. It matters that my unconcealable shotgun, my shotgun that does not fold in half, has to still be 4 feet. Because if I cut it, if I needed to, you know, fit in my locker's too small for my gun safe, should I say, not locker. My gun safe is too small. So, you know, I got a different barrel that made the barrel 2 inches shorter so they could fit in my gun safe. And, you know, that's actually more safe, is being able to properly store firearms. This is the number one way. The number one way that criminals get firearms is stealing them from vehicles and then home intrusion. So if you just made it, which is already a law, I'm pretty sure, illegal to keep actually, no, I don't think it's a law. Should be. If you were to say it's illegal to keep firearms, what is the word I'm looking for? Unsupervised in a vehicle, okay? Firearms are not allowed to be unsupervised in a vehicle. And we just did that everywhere. 80% of gun violence would just go away. Because they would just have a harder time to get it. They'd have to break into a house. Only 15% of all guns used in violent crimes are stolen from a house. The rest are basically stolen from a car or stolen off a person. Which, it's very rare for it to be stolen off of a person. Or, you know, manufactured or acquired in illegal means. Like robbing a gun store or something. Which is still very uncommon. It's even more uncommon than home intrusion. Or bringing it across the border. So, I'm not like a huge gun fanatic. Okay, I only own one. Okay, I'm not like a crazy gun fanatic. I don't understand some laws that are kind of like, oh, well, your 4-foot shotgun is supposed to be 4 feet, but instead it's 3 feet and 10 inches. You're now a criminal. But your other shotgun, that's 4 feet and can fold in half completely and only be, you know, 2 and a bit feet long, that's still completely fine, even though it's easier to conceal. That's the reason that I have issues. Some people, like, certain vertical grips on certain parts of guns are banned. Certain laws are even more ridiculous. Like, if it's in, like, a certain spot, like, you can't have a sideways mounted grip, I'm pretty sure. Because if you have a sideways mounted grip, it's illegal. But if you have that same grip mounted on the bottom, it's completely legal. That's weird. So, like, a lot of gun laws don't make sense. And because a lot of gun laws are, oh, that looks scary in the movie, let's ban it. You know, sometimes, with certain ones, like full auto or the double trigger, fine with banning it. Certain grips, I don't think we should be banning grips. Because if a firearm is easier to control, now it is just a safer firearm. Okay? Whether or not it's going to be used for illegal means or not, it's still safer for the user. That's why I'm against full auto or the double triggers, because I feel like it could be less safe for the user if used by a non-professional user. Kind of like the whole, you don't point guns. You treat a gun like it's always loaded. That's like a rule number 1 of gun safety. Is treat a firearm like it's always loaded. Doesn't matter if your gun is empty. Doesn't matter if you just took it out of the box and you haven't even put in a magazine in it. Always treat a gun as though it's loaded. I don't even care if you're... Okay, well, it's kind of different if you're taking it apart. But, you know, unless that slide's all the way open and there's something preventing that slide from sliding back, treat it like it's open. Or, like, loaded. And a lot of people don't do that. I've seen people accidentally kill their siblings because they just didn't treat a gun like it was loaded. It's not in person. I have to preference this. I've seen videos of people accidentally killing their siblings, and that's the reason why it's like, gun safety, I think, should be taught in school. You know, maybe in like 3rd grade, have the sheriff go by your local school, show off a firearm, just a pistol, talk about how the safety of it is, do a 1-hour course, maybe in like in elementary school, 1 in middle school, 1 in high school. And I'm pretty sure the rates of accidental murder or accidental suicide by firearms would go down drastically. Because now people are being instilled at a young age the dangers of firearm. This got really political, from talking about gay butt stuff to gun politics. But, you know, in the end of the day, as long as we are all striving to make America a safer, better nation, I think that's the most important thing. I think as long as we are all going, you know, we might have different ways about it, but as long as at the core of us and our beliefs is that we're trying to make our nation a safer, better nation through non-violent means, I think that we are on the right path. Okay? I really like, Martin Luther King Jr. because he was a man who fought for rights with peaceful protests and with his speech and his charisma to sway the masses and convince people and educate people on why certain things are wrong and why we should change them. I follow a very similar principle in my life. I think that's a fair and valid statement. As long as we are all striving to make America a better place through peaceful means, I think that's a good thing. Being a liberal versus conservative is almost always online, in my opinion. No. I worked at a grocery store where all my coworkers were liberals, and I'd say out of all my liberal coworkers, I will say it's probably like 75-25. Okay, 75% of my liberal coworkers, 75% of my coworkers were liberal, and then I'd say somewhere around 50% of that 75 were vocal about their political beliefs and would get mad at me and try and get me in trouble if I talked about politics and my political belief, even though I was in the 25% minority. Then again, I also live in California, so a little bit of a different story. But I really liked the coworkers where I knew just by some of the ways they talked or thought and conveyed themselves that they were liberals, but they did not try and make it a divisive thing, where a lot of my coworkers at that grocery store tried to make the fact that we agree on different things very divisive. No matter how much I tried to be neutral ground, playing friendly, and try and be I think that I can understand where you're coming from, but I just disagree, they would still get mad at me. Be like, no, you need to agree. And that was in person. Every day. Well, not every day. I'd say probably 4 days out of a week. For 8 hours a day. Majority of the time, they would. I mean, that just depends on the people. Yeah, but, I talked to a lot of old people from my church, and a lot of them said no one cared about racism, no one cared about politics up until, the 80s or 90s. And that's when the United States had a shift, was in the 80s and 90s, into being more politically focused. And it wasn't until somewhere around the Obama administration, or slightly before the Obama administration, did it become taboo to talk about politics. And no one wanted to talk about politics before that time, according to a lot of old people from my church who are in their 65. Some of them are 65, some of them are 70, some of them are 90, some of them are 40. I got a lot of old people in my church between the ages of 45 and 90, and a lot of them agree that no one cared about politics, no one talked about politics until the 80s or 90s. And then it became really divisive during Obama's first term leading into Trump's term. That's when politics became very divisive in our nation. So everybody thinks they're right. I can admit, maybe my views are wrong. Maybe I'm going about things the wrong way, but from my perspective and my understanding is I am trying to do what's best for our country. Much easier to communicate though. That is true. I guess it's easier to talk to more people. But, I think MS-13 is a violent gang. I think a lot of people could agree that MS-13 is a violent gang. So I think that we should not have violent gangs from other countries in our country. Okay, can we agree that, violent gangs are bad? Now, do we agree that we should kick them out of our country because they're a violent gang? Some people disagree. It's what? If they are not a legal U.S. citizen and they are a violent gang member dealing drugs and killing people, we should get rid of them. And I've seen people, not a lot of people, but I have seen people try and defend violent gangs. It's I don't know if you're rooting for the right team there, bud, but okay. If that's the stance you want to take, that is your God-given right in the United States to have that take. Do I agree with it? No. But that's yours. I think it's easy to kick MS-13 members out, but I think it's hard to say to kick any immigrants out. I think that we should kick all illegal... This is something that Asmongold said, which is considered a slightly left-leaning moderate. He said that we should kick out all illegal immigrants, and then the ones that we have documented that we kicked out that are, you know, proven to not be aggressive and just be living here illegally, should be the first ones that we put on the list to try and bring back into this country legally and have documented. Because a huge reason why I'm trying to kick out, why I want illegal immigrants to be kicked out, is because a lot of farmers will hire illegal immigrants for a very low wage. That's like a quarter of minimum wage. So it takes 4 or 5 of them to work a normal person's hourly wage. And so it's basically extortion. So if we said kick out all illegals and then bring them in legally, well, now that extortion from big government or big like farms and corporations will no longer be there. So we are no longer extorting illegal immigrants for basically slave labor or cheap labor. And like, that's like an actual thing. Is there's a lot of illegal immigrants that said, yeah, I was working for $3 an hour picking crops for 12 hours a day, where I used to get paid $18.50 an hour for frying chicken for 8 hours. So I'm making way more. It's not that I dislike illegal immigrants or having immigrants come into the country to farm. I'm against how badly they're being extorted. Oof. I just don't want extortion. I don't want extortion. I feel like extortion's bad. And I feel like that's not a hot take. I think we can all agree extorting people is bad. Right? Extorting anyone in any way via blackmail or other means is bad, because all these people that owned all these big plantations and big farms that would have illegal immigrants on it would say, you work for the rate I say, otherwise I call ICE on you, and then you get deported. So it's literally blackmail and extortion for cheap labor. That's why I'm against immigration, is because I don't want people to be extorted. I don't want people to be sex trafficked. I don't want potentially violent criminals in a country that we're trying to make more peaceful. So Trump first went after all the aggressive illegal immigrants, then went after the legal, the not aggressive illegal immigrants, and then now that we've kicked them all out, or at least kicked out a lot of them, we can now start going through the list of, you know, the ones that weren't aggressive, the ones that lived here for 10 years and, you know, were plumbers underneath the table. We can now say, hey, you guys that, you know, have already been here for a long time and are chill, we're now going to, you know, start putting you through the process of becoming legal United States citizens, and we already have, you know, basically your resume of why you should live here. At some point, though, the hardworking immigrants are going to now be at a disadvantage. I'm not saying that there aren't hardworking immigrants and that our nation doesn't need immigrants. I'm saying that we should make them be vetted and documented legally so that they are not taken advantage of. Because if you are at a disadvantage being here illegally and working on a farm illegally, because the farmer can always just call ICE on you if you don't like the rate that they pay you, and that's extortion and blackmail. I don't like that. So now if you were to say, now we're going to make that citizen a legal citizen, okay, so now they're here legally, and now that farmer has to pay them a fair wage, well, now these people's lives has just become a whole lot easier, and now they're at actually an advantage because now they have worker and union rights. They now have legal rights protected by the United States law once you become a legal citizen in the workforce. Where if you're an illegal citizen in the workforce, you don't have any government leverage. I mean, there's tons of factors that fall under this. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I understand why some people are saying, well, why are we kicking out the peaceful ones? We're kicking out the peaceful ones because we're kicking out everyone until we can vet everyone, and then we can bring the peaceful ones back in through a port of entry so that they are no longer being taken advantage of. Yeah, it's gonna suck for a few years while they're having to go through the waiting list. But there's tons of people, my younger brother's friends with like 4 or 5 people who are all immigrants from different countries, and they all came in legally during Trump's first administration and got super upset and irritated when they could have just waited 4 years, not had to go through all that financial legal battle and stuff to get in. They could have just walked across. So a lot of my brother's friends who are immigrants voted for Trump because they were like, this isn't fair. Why did we have to work for it when all these criminals and violent people didn't have to work for it? So, when you got legal immigrants fighting to get rid of illegal immigrants, I think we should listen to the ones that took the proper port of entry route. Because they know that it's hard, but that it's worth it. Like I said, I don't hate immigrants because they're immigrants. Okay? I just want to get rid of the ones that have a history of being violent and vet the ones that aren't and make them legal citizens so that they are no longer extorted by big companies. The only reason why I say kick them out and then put them through the process is because if we say, oh, if you've been a legal citizen for so long, but after 10 years, if you prove that you're still good, then you become a legal citizen, that's still giving incentive for them to not go through the proper port of entry, which is actually something that Asmongold said. I didn't agree with him on it at first until I thought about it more. But Asmongold said, don't allow anyone and don't even give the nice ones, you know, the free pass and the citizenship, because then it builds a incentive for people to not come through the proper ports. Now, Trump's gold card, I don't agree with. If we want to disagree about the $5 million gold card, I can live with that. Okay, now if you said you pay $5 mil and then they're on the priority list, so it's like the fast queue or like the premium customs channel, I can live with that. But if it's just $5 mil you're in, that I don't agree with that. Because a lot of like drug cartels can do that. I think what it's supposed to be is like a fast pass, and if it's a fast pass thing, it doesn't bother me as much. $5 million for a fast pass? Sure, that's more revenue for the United States. I don't wholly disagree with deportation, but I am just thinking about what happens to deported people's homes and jobs after they come back. Well, I'd assume that they would still be able to get a job, because right now, so the way that Trump's doing what is the tax called? The way that he's doing the is it imported? No, not import. What is the word I'm looking for? Tariffs. The way that Trump is doing the tariffs is he's trying to make more jobs in the United States, okay? Now, if there's more jobs in the United States through his tariffs, then those people coming back into the United States would not struggle to find a job, because they would be able to find a job at one of the factories that was made by foreign corporations in the United States via the embargoes and the tariffs. Because if the tariffs' long-term effect makes more jobs in the United States, then we will be able to bring in more immigrants, because there will be more jobs for them. And more people working more jobs for the legal pay means that housing will be better. Think of it like this. Okay? If they went from, we'll say, paid $2.50 an hour as an illegal immigrant working on a farm to being deported for 5-6 years, coming back and being able to make, you know, we'll say $18 an hour, because that's basically what minimum wage is in my state. $18 an hour, and come back in 6 years, you'll make $18 an hour, and be able to now legally get a loan. You're now legally given workers' rights from the United States government. You don't have to work as long, hard days. You have better working. You can now work in factories, because now you're a citizen. You're now allowed to work in more dangerous jobs that pay more. There's a lot of... Becoming a legal United States citizen gives you such a huge advantage when it comes to pay gap. compared to being an illegal immigrant. And like just worker rights go crazy. And if the tariffs do make more jobs, it'll be easier for them to find it. Because right now, a lot of illegal immigrants are living 20 people to a house because they're all making $2.50 an hour, working 12-hour days. Okay? If you're making, we'll bump it up to saying 5. If you're making $5 an hour for 20 hours, you're making $60 a day. Now you got 20 people living in a studio apartment making $60 a day. 20 people times $60 a day is $1,200. Where's my math? Something's wrong. So if they're working 12-hour days for $5 an hour, they're making $60 a day. And you got 20 people, they're making $1,200 a day for 20 people. Okay? That is like half of a studio apartment per day. That's a lot of people. That is not good, because if one person gets sick, now they're all sick and they're all taken out of the workforce. Or maybe they're working while sick, and then that causes other issues. Now they got lung damage because they were overexerting themselves while really sick, because they didn't have proper United States government protected programs. I don't agree with you on that, but at what point do we put more fault on those corps? Exactly. I think that it's a huge incentive for corporations to invest into illegal immigrants. That's why in a lot of like mom and pop hotels, there's like the stereotypical like Mexican lady that's a maid. Even though that's like a racist stereotype, it's because a lot of mom and pop shops can pay those immigrants dirt cheap and not have to pay taxes on it. They don't have to pay taxes on paying the person, so that's less government income tax, and then they're not paying that person as well. So then they have to fit a whole bunch of people into one house because they can't afford it. So only one person is actually documented, but there's like 10 or 15 people living in a room. That's actually very common in LA. It's for there to only be one legally documented citizen and then be housing 8 or 9 illegal immigrants that are working under the table jobs for way below minimum wage. Because if you're making $60 a day, you are not able to survive in California. You're just not. That is not a reasonable amount of income, making $60 a day. Working for 12-hour days, making $60. My gas tank for every other week is $40. To put that in like retrospect, your one day is basically paying for my 2 weeks worth of gas, and I don't drive that much right now because I'm unemployed. But when I was driving a lot, I was easily spending $60 in gas every day. Or $60 on gas every week, which means if they were working 12-hour days and they were getting the same amount of like money spent on gas. Also, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can't have car insurance, so you're not even legally allowed to drive in the United States because your car can't be insured. Which means if you get in a car accident, you're solely at fault, and you are now no longer allowed to become a legal citizen, and you are deported from the country to never come back because you got in a car accident without proper insurance because you came in illegally. Now you're never allowed to come back in. You might have not even been at fault. You might have gotten T-boned, and now you're getting deported after getting T-boned and having everything ripped away from you. That really would suck. That's a hypothetical, but it's probably happened to someone. And they're probably looking back and being like, man, I really wish I would have just gone through the proper means, so that if this scenario, the scenario that did happen to me, happened, like if I was legal, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad. But yes, I do think that the corpse should be heavily fined, and then that'll actually help balance out like any financial debt that the government's in. Is for suing a whole bunch of corps that hired illegal immigrants. I'm not looking as much at the mom and pop shops because I understand that. But when you're like Dole, like the fruit company, Dole, that sells like the little fruit cups to the government, a lot of those fruits were picked by illegal immigrants' hands. And, you know, they didn't have to pay taxes on the labor. It's crazy. Also, government or companies are given 50% of what you spend on your business is a tax write-off, so 50% of the money that you spend on your business is no longer counted as an income and is now tax-free or tax-reduced. So they're paying so little to these illegal immigrants that the cut from having the tax write-off, they're actually saving money by paying illegal immigrants instead of paying legal ones and using the tax write-off. That's how much of a financial pay per hour to spare that illegal immigrants are at. Like I said, the only reason why I want these things is because I think it'll work out better for the United States citizens and for the immigrants coming to the United States to be in a safer working condition and a better working condition. I mean, it's a tough topic, yeah. Like, I think we can all agree we want workers' rights. Just how I want to get to point A, I want to go through Route 1 and you want to go through Route 2. Saying that the end goal, if we can all agree on an end goal, let's try Route 1. And if Route 1 doesn't work for a long time, let's try Route 2. That's how I look at it. If Route 1 and 2 don't work, we either pick the best one of the two or try a third route. Route 3 to get the goal A. As long as we as a nation keep on doing that. Because I feel like as a nation, we should all agree on the same things. We should all agree on A, B, and C. But now when we vote for a president, maybe one president will do Route 1. Maybe a different president would do Route 2. Maybe a different president would do Route 3. And by picking different presidents, we're picking different routes of how to implement the same legislation. I think is how we should function as a nation. Currently, I also think the two-party system is failing us, though. No one cared that it was a two-party system until after the 90s. It worked for, what, from 1776 to 1990? It worked for 200 years, 210 years before people started having an issue with the two-party system. I do think having a third party would work, but with the way that the United States functions, I don't think, because the third party is actually looking at the political sphere and all the different parties you can be a part of. Like if it was like a square box, most of the United States is actually in a very small circle in one of those boxes, and to add a third person would be super far off the beaten path. Wendigoon and Wendigoon has a good video on the political ideologies and where they line up on a graph, and like a couple other people do. I want to say that the years before the 90s were slamming either, though. Well, besides like the AIDS crisis in the 70s and 80s, which I kind of think happened because there's a huge uptick in gay people, but that kind of gets divisive and stuff. But it is factual that the gay community has a very high rate of STDs. And also, you know, I can't blame them alone because the US government did do the Tunganese experiment where they gave a whole bunch of African American people what they claimed to be vaccines and medication, and actually just gave a whole bunch of Native American, or not Native American, but African American people AIDS. That was actually a thing that they did between the 70s and the 90s, which caused the AIDS epidemic. That's actually probably the main leading factor. Ignore the other one. But yeah, the US government literally just tested AIDS on people. And side effects. That's like an actual thing. You can look that up. I think it's the Tunganese Project. Tungsten. Let me Google this. USA Gov giving US African Americans AIDS. Nope, not that. Let me expand this. Let me change how I Google this. Did the U.S. government give African Americans AIDS? Google AI overview is not helping me. Conspiracy beliefs. I think it was in the 70s. 1970s. Um, 80s, originating from chimpanzees. The Tuscanese syphilis studies. The Tuscanese study of untreated syphilis in Negro males. It actually says that Negro. That is what the Google AI says. Also knows that the Tuscanese syphilis experiment was a deeply unethical clinical study conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service between 1932 and 1972. Involved 600 African American men, 400 of which whom had syphilis, and a control group of 100 without the disease. They were giving and treating each other with bad blood. So they were told, the citizens were told that they were giving medicine, but instead they actually just experimented on 600 black African Americans to figure out the side effects of how AIDS is transferred between people. The Tuscanese syphilis experiments. Isn't that crazy? The US government literally just racially experimented on people to figure out the AIDS, how AIDS is transferred through blood. Without permission. They didn't give consent to these people. They told these people that they were getting routine vaccines and getting like medicine and boosters and stuff. TBH, not that crazy, Lamau. You don't think that's crazy, but that is the kind of thing that is like 1984 freaking Animal Farm. Like, that is literally the US government. Not crazy. Out of all the things they did, they gave a couple hundred people AIDS. Not that crazy. But there's also like, who was that guy? Fauci? There's confirmed US experiments done by Fauci where he tested the side effects of AIDS on children. John Money, one of the guys that coined, one of the guys that, I think it was John Money, was a New Zealand American citizen who did experiments on 2 Jewish boys, one who had a botched circumcision, and turned him into a transgender male to female at an infant to see the psychological effects that it would have on them. And the brother that was not experimented on killed himself at the age of 32. Then a few months later, the other brother, the one that was experimented on and raised as a girl who rejected it in his adulthood, committed suicide through double shotgun blast to the back of the head in a random parking lot. And that man was a foster parent who fostered 6 or 7 children with his wife. And that same guy also performed experiments on infants to see how young could an infant orgasm. The same guy who came up with transgenderism and stuff, him and his colleagues raped infants to figure out how young would chemical and electrical and physical stimulation to get them to orgasm. That is an actual government-funded experiment. Was figuring out how young does a person have to be to orgasm. And the youngest they went was like 6 months. That's not even a conspiracy theory. That's true. You can look that up. The wiki doesn't say all that, but if you dig deep enough, there is archives and there are charts. I think it's the John Money. Let me look this up. I think it's John Money. John Money. Orgasm graph. I have this somewhere on my phone or my computer. I have found it before. Every time I try and find it, it gets harder and harder. Oh, found it. Alfred Kinsey and John Money. 5-month-old 3 number of orgasms, and the time involved is a question mark. 11 months old could get 10 orgasm in an hour. Another 11-year-old could do 14 in 40 minutes. 2-year-olds, a couple of 2-year-olds were 7 orgasms in 9 minutes. Another one was 15 in an hour. I disavow all of this disgusting experiment, but transgenderism should not be associated with money. I can't talk about it any more deeply than John Money and Alfred Kinsey, because if I go deeper than that, then I will get banned off Twitch, because I've already done it and gotten 10 banned off Twitch for hate speech. For citing the people who brought up transgender ideology and my personal beliefs on it. I have gotten 10 banned for it. They deemed it as hate speech. So I cannot speak further on this matter on Twitch. I could if I was streaming on Kick or Rumble, but I cannot go further on Twitch. I can just say, hey, these 2 guys did these terrible things, and these are the guys who pushed for transgenderism in the 70s to 90s. That's as much as I can do. I can just cite my sources, said what time they were pushing for it, and what all they did, and you can research it deeper. But I cannot tell you any more than that. And let me copy link address. This is on Instagram, but I've seen this graph in tons of other places. So let's see. Well, that's a long link. I don't know if that works. Let's do this one, a shorter link. But yeah, that is the Alfred Kinsey and John Money, the leaders of the sexual revolution in the 70s to 90s, also were people that were okay with either molesting or raping infants and toddlers. So, when your ideology starts with people that are that terrible of people, it's hard for me to get back behind it, because it makes me naturally think that a lot of the people in your movement might be like the people who founded it and started moving it. And I can understand, I can empathize with people that believe that they are in the wrong body, but on my end, I leave it up to the fact that transgenderism comes from a much different place than what money has done. You can believe that. I don't disagree with that. But personally, in my religious belief, I believe that everyone was beautifully and wonderfully created by God. I don't think that there's anything wrong with how you were made. From a biblical standpoint in the eyes of the Lord, there is no difference between how I look, how you look, how anyone looks. We are all God's wonderful creation. And so when I see people going through those surgeries, I look at that as them outwardly expressing their rejection of God, because they're trying to make themselves less in God's image, from my personal standpoint. And I am fine with you holding these beliefs and opinions, but I don't feel like you should push them onto other people, because I see it as a kind of self-destructive ideology. Not saying that all of them are self-destructive, I'm just saying that from my experience is that it tends to be. Now, how we want to get to the end goal, we may have different end goals. We might not be like, well, we both agree on A and we want to go through route 1 or 2. You might agree with A, I might agree with B. And that is a huge part of the political atmosphere right now. But I want to push more for the 80-20 issues. That is what I was talking about it. I kind of want to run for president. I don't think I'd ever become president, but I do want to run for president and fight for these 80-20 issues. Because at the end of the day, what I want is for people to be ultimately happy and be willing to make their own decision. Also, like, I don't have an issue with, like, people being transgender. It's just that there's a lot of bad stigmatisms that come with people being transgender. And unfortunately, a lot of the stigmatisms are like self-fulfilling prophecies, because in them trying to prevent it, they actually end up doing that. One of those stigmatisms. And so that's my issue. Is that there's negative stigmatisms with them, and I believe that those stigmatisms tend to be consistent. I think that's the best way that I can phrase it. I don't know. Stereotypes. There are negative stereotypes in the transgender community. And they're not true in all cases, but they are true in some. And now the percentage is something that I need to look into deeper to figure out what percent. But, you know, like there's a recent story that's been going around of 2 gay men that adopted a infant and then raped the infant to death. That happened recently in like the last month. That's like a big story that's been going around. I can try and find it. The problem is that I see it reposted a whole bunch of times on Twitter by people that I trust, but I also, you know, I'm not directly correlated to that event. That's also an extreme case, yes. So that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm not saying that all gay people are like that. Like I would not be as against gay people. If you've ever watched Modern Family, I think Modern Family handles how gay couples are in a lot of scenarios, and I have no issue with that. I can't even remember their characters' names, but I really like that, because I feel like that is one of those things where I have no issue with the LGBT community until they make that their identity, their sole identity. Like, yes, I am a Christian, but I don't go, oh, every single opportunity I get, I'm going to talk about Christianity. It's like, for a long time, in this conversation, we were talking about politics, and a little bit I did bring into, you know, Christianity, but I did not specify that everything I view is through a biblical lens, because I'm going to admit it's not. Maybe it should be, but it's not. A lot of my personal views are just personal views from experiences that I've had that are not, you know, biblically grounded, might actually contradict what the Bible teaches. And I can admit that that might be a fault of mine. But, having said that, I don't make Christianity my whole identity. It's a big part of my identity. And I'd be fine with the LGBT community more if they made it, you know, yeah, it's a big part of your identity. But it's not the only part of your identity. That would be like, I'm a beekeeper. I keep bees. Now, if the only thing I ever talked about was me keeping bees, that would be annoying. Those people can be criticized? Yeah. There is a lot of people in the LGBTQ community that are moderates. I am fine with the moderates. I have no issue with the moderates. You know, I have some, I probably only have one gay friend and a couple of gay acquaintances. And most of the time, and all those guys, I actually don't have an issue with any of them. I actually like a lot of them. I think the only, I'm trying to think, is there any that I didn't like? There was a gay man that sent me a lot of gay furry porn. That was actually my first involvement in the gay community, was a gay man online sending me a lot of gay furry porn when I was 13 and 14. So that was not a good start for either one of those communities to try and be welcoming into those. So, like, I'd say, you know, I had that one really bad experience early on in my life. Most people are cool, but it goes for every kind of community. Yeah, I can admit that. Like, there's Christian pastors that I don't agree with. In my local community, I've had very strong disagreements with some of them, where I'm like, you are arguing over something that is completely stupid that I disagree with you on. You are being retarded. But, having said that, we can disagree, but when your disagreement is coming between us being cool, that's where I have an issue. I've tried to befriend that family for years, and that, like, pastor in his church. We just disagree on too many things. Or at least a few... Actually, we don't disagree on that many things. We only disagree on a few things, and they just make that the whole thing. So they're very controlling. Like, if I don't fit in their slot perfectly, that's an issue. And that should not go for any community. very interesting retrospective conversation, politically, more or less than spiritually. I have been doing this thing where at the end of my streams, I do a 3-minute read out of my daily devotional, and then I do my outro in stream. That is one thing where I feel like I'm trying to tie into my Christianity roots more and work on my walk and my faith. It's more done for me than you guys, so I can build up a routine. But, you know, if I have a long stream where I don't talk about the Bible at all, I just want to always end it off on like a little bit of a positive retrospective note with each one of those, because they're very much so work on yourself things. I think like earlier, everyone has their own freedom of expression. Yes. Like for me, like I have a lot of friends. Oh! Let's go! Got my first overflux, baby! Clip it. I think that's a great spot to end off the stream. Like, I am listening to, you know, Christian music in the background. I am, you know, we're talking about politics, and I think a lot of my politics are rooted in my Christian faith, and I'm willing to admit that. But at the same time, I'm not, like, always trying to make it the main focus of my identity. I want you to know it, but I want you to know it through my actions, not so much through my words. I want my actions to be positive and reflect well on my community. And the problem is I feel like the LGBTQ community, either they perform the wrong actions or they're too verbal about it. So, but I think, you know what? I think that's a perfect spot to end off the stream. So we're going to go we're going to do a little thing. Let's do this real quick. I'm going to go boop, boop, boop. And then, whoops. This, that, bam. Because I've been streaming for 2 hours and 40 minutes, so. Like this one's called, this 3-minute one. This is 3-minute devotionals for men, 180 encouraging Bible readings, and I'm not even all the way through. We're gonna do this. A godly mentor. Barnabas took Mark and sailed for Cyprus. Acts 15:39. John Mark was fortunate. Barnabas took him under his wing and took him on a missionary journey. This created a rift with Paul, but Barnabas thought Mark was worth it. Years later, Paul asked Timothy to bring Mark to him because he was helpful to him in his ministry. 2 Timothy 4:11. Clearly, Mark has changed. Barabbas was an excellent spiritual mentor. You too sometimes need help to overcome your fears and step into your future. Barbarous. It's Barnabas. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. I'm going to call it Barnabas, because I think Barabbas was the one that they were going to free instead of Jesus. It was either kill Jesus or free Barabbas. I think this is Barnabas. Barnabas believed in Mark's potential. And you also need people who believe in you. Plus, he was willing to invest. Barnabas had invested in Paul, and he saw that investment pay off. So he was willing to make an investment in Mark also. And Barnabas was experienced. He had been where John Mark, I don't know why it says John Mark. I feel like those are two, whatever. Needed to go, and could show him the way. Finally, Barnabas was an encourager. Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, was his nickname. Acts 3:36. You too need someone who can point you in the right direction and encourage you on the way. And you need someone to do that for others also. God help me find a godly mentor when I need one. And help me be a mentor and an encourager to those who are new in the faith. Whoop. That's the little excerpt. Only took, like 2 minutes? And now I do my outro. So this is how I'm trying to, you know, I don't want to force it on you. I want to do it in a very small segment or in a very background way where you do not feel forced into it, because when people force religion on you, that's wrong. What I want is for you to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, nothing else. Nothing else matters. It's all I want. And so, as we put away these last few things, I gotta say, thank you to conspiracy_05 for the follow. Much love, greatly appreciated. And thank you, Mana077, for stopping by and hanging out for such a long time, even though, you know, we both disagree on certain things. You know, having this introspective talk, I think, was very good for us. And I would like to see you again more often, even though we disagree. Overflux. Actually, let's craft the overflux, because I think I have everything. This. Recipe redstone. Okay, do I have any in my thing? I do. I have quite a bit. I think it was like this. There we go, baby! Overflux! To Be Determined does something similar where he includes verses in every description. That's dope. That's what I'm talking about. Is I don't want to do it in a way that feels forced, because I have had people do it in a way that felt like you were very much so forcing things on me. And when you force things on people, their natural response is to push away. So I always want to do things in a way where it doesn't feel forced. If you want to talk to me about it, you can come up to talk to me about it. I'm more than willing to listen. But I never want anything to ever feel forced upon you. And so I feel like, you know, Christian music in the background, that's mainly for me. I think you guys have a hard time hearing it. And then the little daily Bible verse at the very end right before I do my outro, because it only takes a few minutes. And, you know, saying things like, I believe this because this is how I was raised, and that's where I get a lot of my views and my beliefs. So that we can be very transparent on where we're both coming from, because you may have been raised differently from how I was raised, and that's why we have different beliefs on things. But thank you, Conspiracy05. Thank you, Mana077_ for the follows and for chatting. And who else showed up? Let's check on who else showed up. So we had you, Conspiracy, Auntie Naughty, who I think disappeared, and then Piro, and First Differn. Thank you guys all for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys again tomorrow. And if I don't, I hope you have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Wait. I forgot. Socials down in the description below, and I hope you guys enjoyed your stay. And I hope you have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Goodbye.